You're right, MF Doom. Sometimes you do need to cut people off like a light switch. Oh, hello spicy people of the internet. I'm Spice8Rack, aka the human embodiment of the phrase, well, it can't get much worse, can it? And welcome to my comfortable abode. The world is full of hatred. The world is full of anger. The world is full of online political hyperbole. And if you follow me on Twitter, you know I'm part of the problem. So let's relax. And what better way to do that than with one of your best friends? Unfortunately, I had to disown my last best friend after he crept into my room dressed as James Corden from Cats. So I need a new bestie. And to celebrate the fact that Commander 2019 is going to be coming out soon and Throne of Eldraine looks bloody nuts, doesn't it? I'm going to be looking for one in the card game The Magic the Gathering. Whoa! Also, before we go any further, I'd just like to announce that this video is sponsored. Far from being shunned, my insane ramblings have actually been picked up by the glittering eye of Channel Fireball themselves, and they're going to be supporting the channel, which is a little bit nuts, to be honest. So cool. Thanks, guys. Do remember to use code
Spice. Spice is the code. I didn't know what the code was before I filmed this. Use code Spice
in the link below to sign up to your next Magic Fest and support the channel even more. Don't worry though, despite corporate sponsorship, my scruples haven't shifted 1 nano-angstrom, and I promise that this new relationship won't change the output of this channel one iota. So come with me as I answer the question on all of your juicy lips. Who would be the best Magic the Gathering best friend? So I decided for this video to focus only on characters that have cards. I felt it would be a little bit difficult to try and work out an entire character based on a single appearance in a book or a story article. And this actually ended up culling a weird number of quite significant characters. So for example, Gix, who was Yawgmoth's first Praetor, doesn't actually appear on any non-Vanguard card, as does Commodore Goff, who is the one and only good Planeswalker. After cutting all the characters that didn't appear on any non-Vanguard cards, this left me with a cool and easy 1,094 cards that I had to go through. And in the immortal words of Zhuge Liang, after being told how many arrows Shu Wu wanted him to collect from Cao Cao's army, that is frankly an unreasonable amount! To trim some of the fat, I ended up cutting all but the most temporally recent legendary creatures. So, for example, out of all of the different iterations of Niv Mizzet that appear in the game, only the reborn version that appears in War of the Spark would be canon. I also cut all of the non-legends that flip and turn into legendary creatures from Kamigawa block because I just don't like them. Just don't really. Next, I took out any cards that represent multiple people or search for multiple people or have multiple interchangeable forms with notably different personalities or physical forms, as I felt it was a little bit unfair to each other individual legend. This did put me in a little bit of a bind with some of the cards. For example, with Gissa and Geralf, their latest iteration shows them together, but they do have 2 cards that show them individually. They were just printed a couple of years beforehand. So I diced with that for a little bit, but then I actually came to the conclusion that they are both horrible people and there's no way they would have made it into the list anyway, so I just put them all in the bin. I still had a lot of cards to go through, so I did make some additional cuts. So for example, I removed any creature that is just a real-life historical figure or based on a real-world character or figure. So that got rid of all of the 3 unplayers, Richard Garfield, Nebuchadnezzar, 1996 World Champion, and every single legendary creature from Portal 3 Kingdoms. That was a really, really weird set. Next, no characters from different timelines or realities, unless they are shown to still exist within the new canon timeline. So none of the old Khans from Khans of Tarkir, and none of the plane shifted or color shifted variations of legendary creatures who we know from the original timeline, such as Krovak's Ascendant Hero. I am allowing characters who we haven't seen before that came through rifts, such as Norin the Wary or Megara. I finally decided to, potentially controversially, cut every single Planeswalker from this list. Because they come with their own bloody, stay out of the bloody comment section, you rascals. My reasoning for this was because Planeswalkers come with a whole load of unique boons and also drawbacks that I don't think you can really compare to legendary creatures. And the main reason I cut them as opposed to creatures is that they can travel the multiverse. And I want to like walk down the street, knock on my best friend's front door and just go, oh, here, Tim, I want to play some Smash Ultimate with you, and for them not to be in Dinosaur Land. Finally, to make my life easier, I'm just going to pretend that nobody's dead. So I'm just going to pretend that everybody who exists on a card is just going to be alive in the last state we saw them. You may be thinking that this whole video, both conceptually and logistically, is just a pale imitation of Polygon's Unraveled series, and whilst those videos are a major inspiration to me and my channel, and undoubtedly many of you out there as well, I hope that this video has its own unique voice and can enter the pantheon of niche online over-analysis, fresh and funky. And besides, I would never in my wildest dreams attempt to rip off such an icon like Brian David Gilbert completely wholesale. Or would I? No, I wouldn't do that. That would be like incredibly churlish and rude. With all the big cuts out of the way, now we can actually move on to the sexy part of this video. The categorization.
Dirty dog. Mama, I'm a dirty dog. I'm a dirty dog.
That was horrid. To be my best friend, a legendary creature is going to have to pass 3 rigorous balances on a subjective tightrope. The first, consciousness. On one hand, can I have a conversation with this character in a literal sense? Can I actually converse with them without being incredibly weirded out or eaten? I won't go through every single one in this category. I'm just gonna point out a couple to give you an idea of the kind of people that fall at this first hurdle. Hope of Girapur, just a bomb. Goreclaw, Terror of Qual Sisma, just an angry bear who is literally killing a man in her art. Experiment Kraj, Blob, Neheb, and all of the other legendary Eternals, because they're all literally just mindless pawns of Nicol Bolas, including Temet, who actually became an Eternal. Mowu. As much as I love the good boy, there is no way that they're ever going to choose me over Yangu. And finally, Skeleton Ship. It's just a spooky boat. It's just a bone boat. And all of the other legendary creatures that didn't make this cut are sort of gonna be around me at this point. So if your fave is here, I also took this opportunity to create a little sort of like subcategory within the mega category of not being able to have a good conversation, and that's people who are physically conscious, but not sociologically conscious. You know, I don't really mind if you and I can't have a huge, meaningful debate about, you know, the state of truth, but there are some people who I really just can't look past their... Well, I'll show you what I mean. Tornos, essentially Urza's arms dealer. Sidar Kondo, the father of Rolrath, who somehow didn't realize that he was raising Ardman Brightburn. Ailey, Eternal Pilgrim. Eldrazi Truther. Rona, Disciple of Gix, the artificer equivalent of a film student who still cites Roman Polanski as the benchmark for good filmmaking. What? Your problem with that? And a variety of other people who you couldn't have a conversation with without wanting to grab them by the shoulders and going, "What do you mean common soldiers can't understand what a Sidar knows? How did you not realise you were raising Razimus Clayface?" On the other end of this balancing act, we also have people who are too conscious. Like, I love having my views challenged, learning new things about science and the world. But I imagine hanging out with a man who describes himself as the omnipotent would get super old super quickly. Other too conscious legendaries include Isperia and literally every other Sphinx, Autumn Willow and her daughter, who are both the living embodiment of nature, which arguably a bit much. Joyra and Squee, whilst they may not be as big-brained as some of the other too conscious characters that I have on this list, they suffer from the greatest form of consciousness. The understanding that they are immortal, and that no matter how strong a friendship is, no matter how powerful that bond, you will wither. You will age and decay whilst they stay the same. Forever changing on the inside, but never the outside. Destined to watch your friendship and you die. Riven Turnbull, he looks like a bloody libertarian if you ask me. And all of the other hyper-conscious characters, their names are currently around me in some capacity. Future Connor, edit in a GIF. Cheers, me. Okay, so we managed to get rid of a decent number of legendary creatures. We still have a number to go. So the next category that we're going to pass everyone through like a fine cheesecloth is the party category. Now, if you know me, you know I love a good boogie. Here's a picture of me dancing. We stan. So I decided that I would just get rid of every single character who would stunt my flow, put a crimp in my style, who just weren't enough party. The first character that I want to use as an example is Quende, Pride of Femereth, who tried to murder Teferi, who, as we all know after watching our fair share of Esper control mirrors, is the king of parties. Next we have Kumano, Master Yamabushi, who spent his whole life on top of a mountain until some demon said, "Hey, someone's been chatting bollocks about you down there," and then he went down, decapitated them, and came back. Next we have Marwyn the Nurturer, who's probably an amazing friend but couldn't stay out past 7 PM. Next, Hivis of the Scale, who's just possessive. And as our last example, Kemba Car Regent, the erstwhile leader of a society on the brink of being consumed by a vast and unknowable evil. Effectively, if Theresa May was in the new Cats movie.
To serve the country I love.
As well as all of the rest of these not party people who you can currently see in some capacity on your screen laid before your eyes for your viewing pleasure. Of course, on the other side of that coin, we have the too much party people. I like a party, but I also often just sort of go to sleep in a spare room after about 2 hours. So I can appreciate someone who can get down, but also is chill with being down. That sounds like depression. So I can appreciate someone who is both here to boogie, but also here to nap. And yes, before you comment anything, everyone affiliated with the Rakdos cult was already on this list before I'd even written this script. A large number of these people actually also need a little bit of further explanation, so I'm gonna just go through a large amount of them, just sort of give you the idea of why I have considered them too much party. The first one being Croesus the Purger, who would slay his enemies by screaming at them until they died, which, you know, pretty much takes karaoke off the table forever. We also have Lord of Tressorhorn. I don't want to have to kill one of my friends each time he comes around to visit. Uril the Mist Stalker. We get it. You vape. Slimefoot Stowaway. We get it. You did shrooms in Amsterdam. It doesn't need to be your entire personality now. Carho. Minimo Historian. We get it. You have reckless safety standards about how much hairspray you have in your hair versus the amount of literal fireballs you have around you. It's a very good look, Carho, but it's also very dangerous. Joven. Now, I love eyeliner and leather braces and Snarg's House of Sin just as much as the rest of the red-blooded Welsh population, but all three at the same time, little bit much there, Joven. Kethis, the Hidden Hand. If whatever you touch starts glowing, I want your hands in public view at all time. Reki, the History of Kamigawa. That is the body of a man who knows every single bartender in Magaluf by name. Sivtree Skarzam, obviously drunk out of her mind. Who else has tamed Skarzam's dragons? My guy, that is clearly a large seahorse. And finally, as our final example, Gwendolyn de Courcy, the greatest temptress in all of Dominaria, luring hundreds, perhaps thousands of warriors. All fine so far. De Courcy then apparently killed her would-be lovers. That is the definition of too much party. I could honestly talk about the different decisions that went into each of these characters falling into the too much party category, but I'm just going to kind of leave their names on screen for now and let you make an educated choice as to why you think they fell into this category. They each do have a reason. My final test originally was one of pure morality. We've had people who had questionable views about some things, but we haven't covered the people who are just out and out dicks. So let's peruse the dicks. Cabal Patriarch. Patriarchy at its worst. X. Got enough of them already. Lord Mangus, the guy who turned into the Sylvan Library. So if you've ever played against that in a game of EDH, he's the one to blame. We can also add every demon, every dragon lord, and every kami from Kamigawa. There were, of course, some kami who joined the Mortal versus Kami war reluctantly, but if you're gonna do a mass murder, it doesn't really matter how reluctantly you do it. Whilst we're in Kamigawa, Azami Lady of Scrolls falls into this category, quite surprisingly. I didn't really know much about her lore and just assumed I was going to put her in the not enough party category, but when I actually read up about her, I found that she is partly responsible for the death of her mother by drowning. She poisoned her class rival to get ahead in her school, and she left her best friend to get killed by rats in a swamp, all so that she could hold onto a scroll, which turned out to be completely useless. Omega yikes! Vishkal Blood Arbiter. Nobody who sits on a chair like that is fun. And finally, Sir Chandler Eberyn. This one, actually I couldn't find much about them, but that's because each time I typed in Chandler Eberyn MTG lore into Google, I just kept getting redirected to the Chandler wiki page. And I got so frustrated that he's just in the dick category now. Okay, so as for the other dicks, there's quite a lot of them, so I'm just gonna kind of let all of the names scroll up next to me, whilst I quickly mention some anti-dicks, my patrons. Really want to do a quick shout out to Jude Big Boy, Mercs the Wise, Kurd Ape Apologizer, Might of Din, and Matteo Tank 1, and all of my other wonderful patrons who you can join with the link that's currently on screen now. Thanks so much for supporting this channel. I really do appreciate it. These videos would not be possible without you. Are the dicks done? Now with the dicks out of the way, it's time to talk about the goody two-shoes. We're talking real do-gooders. We're talking about real Puritans. We're talking about woke overloaded tools. Let's talk about the holier-than-thou crowd. Into this category goes almost every single angel, all but one god. It's quite difficult to not be holier than thou when you are literally a deity. We also have Ishao Enlightened Bushi, a politically transcendent samurai, aka what half of Twitter sees themselves as. Azusa, Lost But Seeking. Oh, let me tell you about my gap year I spent traveling around Kamigawa and actually visited an Orochi colony where I helped underprivileged, forearmed snake children. Arcades the Strategist, de facto ruler of Dominaria in the years after the Elder Dragon War, and turned it into a literal police state. Good job, Arcades. Raksha, the Golden Cub, Cat Jesus. And lastly, Tatyova Benthic Druid. Now, I'm a vegetarian, but that flavor text makes me want to pile drive a deer. And whilst the rest of the holier than thou crowd hangs out on screen, it was at this point in my research that I realized that there were too many. I had too many cards left. There were too many cards. Oh no! So I came up with 2 quick new categories to get rid of an additional amount of creatures. The first one I came up with was the just plain nasty category. Now, a person's physical features, flaws, and flourishes shouldn't come into account when you're considering who should be your best friend. But when they look like this, that's going to produce some genuine hygiene issues. I also put a subcategory into the just plain nasty grouping for people who would give really bad hugs. These included Azuri, Claw of Progress, Phyrexian hugs, Urtai the Corrupted, Torturous hugs, Josu Ves, Necrotic hugs, and King Makar, overly luxurious hugs. The rest of the just plain nasty category is currently on screen, so lap it up. But I had one more category that I thought could just get rid of the last little remnants of people who I hadn't found a place for in the rest of my best friend choosing. And that was people who have names that I really don't want to have to say when I introduce them to the rest of the friendship group. For example, hi guys, it's so nice to hang out with you here in this pub. I want to introduce you to my new friend, Vona, Butcher of Magan, Cedris the Traitor King, Trogar, Famine Incarnate, Traxos, Scourge of Krug, and all of these other deeply unfortunate names. Now, after all of this, I was left with 90, just under 90 legendary creatures in the final sweepstake for who could be my new best friend. And so I had to make some additional cuts, a little bit more sort of fine cuts. Oh, actually no, before that, I forgot to mention something. All right, so the only thing I found out about this guy, right? General Jarkeld. I looked into this guy's lore and I couldn't really decide where to put him. So I made his own category, which I labeled plain stupid, because allegedly he called himself the Arctic Fox and then got his army lost in the Arctic, in the Adarka Wastes, where they froze to death. Amazing! With him out of the way, we can now talk about the characters who are either like on the edge of being sort of not actually someone I want to be friends with, or who I just didn't really know that much about. These people include Lazav the Multifarious, because whilst he could take the place of any of your friends at a house party if they all passed out and you still wanted a boogie, bit ethically no on that one. Hundling Gunjornensen. At first this guy ranked higher on the list, but then I realized that in his flavor text it's got quotation marks but no attribution, which means that he said this about himself in third person. Aisha Tanaka, a mystical armorer that worked alongside Tetsuo Umezawa in his battles for and against Nicol Bolas, but I honestly couldn't find that much out about her readily. Nazan, literally just a cat with a hammer, and the rest of the stragglers in this category you can see lined up here, and we're going to use that momentum and move straight on into the next cull, which is the... Okay, there's no two ways of going about this. This is the pity group. These were the people who I didn't want to cut early on because I felt bad about cutting them, but who inevitably I ended up having to do it. So I've actually got this little section here. There's only 5 people. Fibblefip, who is a hapless, charming, inverted minion who is excellent at climbing, but I don't think is reliable enough to be a best friend. Kei Takashi, who is a selfless cleric who actually gave their own life to save their friend, and whilst that normally would have put them in the holier than thou category, I think that, you know, they had a bit of a troubled upbringing, so I wanted to throw them a little bit of a bone. Ishan's shade. Yes, he did some horrible things in life, but he's trying to make up for that in death. And honestly, I think we can appreciate that in today's cancel culture. Sapling of Kolfanor, Emo Baby Groot, and Zergo Bell Striker. Our third filter is technically actually was more of an emergency button of sorts. See, when I made the rule about not having multiple people on a card or people who could search for multiple people, I neglected to extend that rule to pets. And so I just have a long list of people who happen to have like a dog in their art. So that's Godo, Hala, Izareth, Ishi, Joriel, who I actually found out was a massive ass in her story, but I was blinded by the fact that she just has 2 big cats. Carrie Zev, Sylvalia. With pets gone, we can now move on to decent people, but who don't have that kind of like that extra spark, that extra specific hobby or interest that makes them excellent to be a good friend. Such characters include Darigaz Reincarnated, who does recognize that his power and majesty needs oversight by the Shivan Council, and who is making great strides to change the Dragons of Dominaria from violent to more peace-loving, but he's a bit big and I like clubbing. The brothers Yamazaki. Now, when I did make the rule about multiple people, these were the characters that surprisingly actually skirted around this rule. Not only do they not actually look for each other or showcase each other in the artwork, but at the end of the Kamigawa storyline, they'd actually separated due to the death of, I believe it was their father. And so it means that you could hang out with one of them and not the other. And they were decent people, but that's a lot of, like, you know, war casualty baggage. Hakim Lawweaver, described on the Magic the Gathering Mirage character profiles as a bit of a braggart, but at heart he is a charming man. The perfect blend of holiness and dickishness. Holy Dick. Urabrask the Hidden. Yes, he is a Cyberman xenomorph praetor of the Phyrexian race, but when he did take over the Furnace Layer, he actually made great strides to save the Mirrans who existed there from the invading Phyrexian hordes. So, you know, he's got a bit of a soft side, but he really likes foundries, and I'm not really here for like industrial tours, so he's got to go, I'm afraid. Ravos Soul Tender. Can't lie, he's mainly here because he's quite yummy. And the rest of the perfectly acceptable but not particularly exciting characters can be seen around me. Now, after all of this, we are left with 24 characters. We've gone down from over 1,000 to 24, and so we just need one more cut before we're left with our final selection. And this cut is going to be made by taking all the characters who have a hobby, have an interest, but it's kind of their only thing, and we're going to take those guys out of the running. So here are some of those examples. There's not many of them, so I'm actually going to just go through each one of them in alphabetical order, starting with Dipala Pilot Exemplar, who is a super cool engineer and pilot, and who did work with the Renegades of Kaladesh. But apart from piloting, does she really have any extra interests? Doran the Siege Tree, who is shamanistically wise and has many inspirational and potentially Instagrammable quotes, but apart from climbing on him, I don't really foresee any particular fun friendship activities we could do. Jax Levert. I originally put this guy in the not enough party category, but then I realized just how amazing a life would be where we just go around the countryside defending sheep. Sounds lovely. It is only one thing we could do though. Jury N, Ruin Diver. Adventurous, helpful, a great person to go around a museum with, but again, artifacts. Like I've seen a coffin, I've seen Damien Hirst's cow. Do I really need to see that much more? Don't think so. Munda, Ambush Leader. Apart from surprise parties, is he really good for anything? Toshiro the Anointed, he reached out to the human monks of Jukai during the Kami War. He's a diplomat and he's a sick archer. But again, apart from that, we don't really have much to go on. Sisei, Weatherlight Captain, when we last see her, she's actually piloting a new flying ship in the vein of the Weatherlight. But I'm not really one for cruises, and I think I want to, have a bit more diversity. Tetsuko Umezawa, Fugitive, would probably know loads of back ways to get into secret pubs and secret clubs, but whilst you're there, they'd always be looking over their shoulder, fearing that some pawn of Nicol Bolas is going to come along and stab them, so it would be a tense experience. Theoden of Havenwood, just a gardener, with absolutely no ulterior motives whatsoever. Tiana, ship's caretaker, helpful around the house and ironically the only angel who doesn't come across like an absolute tool. Tuvasa the Sunlit. Apart from amazing spa treatments, what realistically would I get out of our relationship? And finally, Yisan the Wanderer Bard. Now, this guy can do a lot. He can summon pets with his music, he can just play his music normally, and whilst that does seem like multiple things, he's also a very adventurous person. I don't want to be the guy that brings the guy that has the balalaika to the house party because he sits in the corner and he just plays the balalaika and everyone's like, oh, that's cool, that's an interesting Hungarian instrument you've got there, but you've been playing that for 4 hours solid and we really just want to get in because Footloose is playing, but you're too busy because your balalaika is like 5 foot across and 7 foot long. Can you just put the balalaika away? Just put the fuck. And here we are. We have whittled it down to the last 11 legendary creatures, and I've ranked them in friendship level. So let's go through them. Number 11, Damia, Sage of Stone. Yes, she is a murderer. But see those bottles? Gonna be hooch in them bottles. Number 10, Eladamri, Lord of Leaves. A lover, a fighter, and a man who owns his own vineyard. Big plus there. However, he is in charge of an entire army of elves, and so the good chances that you're not going to be able to hang out as often as you'd like. Number 9, Bruce Tarl, boorish herder. Yes, he doesn't have much in the way of hobbies, except for creative swearing, but come on, it's Bruce Tarl! It's Bruce Tarl! I really don't have an argument, I just really like Bruce Tarl. Number 8, Mallon of the Morn Song, an avatar of an evil fae called Una. However, she has managed to de-shackle herself from her creator's personality, and she is great at finding things like secret clubs, like keys, like ad nauseum combo pieces. She's got it all. Number 7, Brigid, hero of Kinsbale, a heroic Kithkin who is also a master archer and who enjoys teaching magic. She's also a part-time pirate, so with lots of pluses, but she does lose some points because she did punch Sig in the face. Number 6, Zedru the Great-Hearted, calm, kind, and speaks the love language of gift-giving. The only love language that matters. Number 5, Chomano Revolutionary, a romantic revolutionary who, after leading a successful revolution, now spends his time chilling out in a woodland next to a really nice fountain. And honestly, I'm here for that life. Number 4, Gonti, Lord of Luxury. Yes, he is a notorious crime lord. However, that A means that he's probably got a sick-ass home cinema system, big plus, and B, he also utilized his wealth to fund the revolutionaries of Kaladesh. Now that's what I call ethical consumption under capitalism. Number 3, Slowbad, Goblin Tinkerer. Listen, come closer, come on. Slowbad, right? Slowbad. I know I said this in the Goblin video. He died so that everybody who died on Mirrodin could live. He died to save his friends. He gave up the opportunity to explore the vastity of the multiverse as a near god in order that a few ultimately meaningless people would survive. Slowbad is one of the greatest friends that would ever exist. And would Slowbad go and see Hamilton without you? Would he? Will? Is that something that you'd do? No, don't you shake your head. Don't you shake your head at me. Number 2, Yuriko, the Tiger Shadow. Not only does she work tirelessly for the betterment of the oppressed people of Kamigawa, she's also chock full of fun facts like government secrets, and is always ready for a costume party. The only reason she misses out on top billing is because she's a little bit aloof and mysterious, and I don't want to have to like work really hard to get to know you. I want to have a conversation and just the sparks fly, and that's what I believe will happen with the person that I've picked for number 1. Alright, so due to various levels of chicanery, this video didn't actually come out before Commander 2019 spoilers began, and I didn't want to release this and then have a whole number of other legendary creatures that I hadn't considered within the ranking, so I waited until all the spoilers came out. Today is the day where all of the deck lists are now fully out, and so I'm going to go through all of the new legendaries really quickly and just slam them straight into the different categories. So we're going to start with Ryami, first of the Fallen, who is ribbed for nobody's pleasure, so he gives bad hugs. We've got Pramikon, Sky Rampart, who is, it's just geometry, not conscious. Marissi, Breaker of the Coil, bit aggressive, too much party. Kirk, son of Yorgmoth, who looks like a really well-drawn version of all the Sonic the Hedgehog OCs I made when I was 10. Bad hugs. Candina, Slinking Sorcerer. Do not trust anyone who calls themselves Slinking. We're going to put that in bad name. Grismold the Death Sower. Now, you could put him in bad name as well, but he does give you plant-based gifts, and I'm willing to look past somebody's title if they give me regular succulents. So I'm going to put him in the okay friend category. Elsha of the Infinite. Unclear as to whether she exists in the non-canon Khan's timeline of Tarkir or pre-Khanful Tarkir. Either way, she's too conscious. Sevine, the Chronoclasm, would be amazing to relive old and fun parties with. However, I think potentially he's a bit caught up in the past, and I don't really want to be stuck in a timeline where I'm just Groundhog Daying the same particularly spicy game of Truth or Dare. So put him in too much party. Angie Falconwrath, just gonna go out on a limb and say dick. Atla Palani, Nest Tender, who would be far too busy looking after her eggs to come hang out, so not enough party. And then finally, Gired Conclave Exile. You can bring wine, you can bring shots, but you cannot bring rhinos to my house. Too much party. Alright, that's them done. Back to you in the studio. God, I'm tired. At number 1, who do I think would make the best friend out of all of Magic the Gathering canon? Someone who I can have a conversation with. Someone who I cannot be scared is going to overburden me with knowledge, but also who's going to be interesting to talk to. Someone who can have a good time, but also is super okay with just relaxing and chilling out. Someone who isn't a monster, but also someone who isn't going to judge me for occasionally eating mascarpone cheese from out of the pot. Who can I find in the whole of Magic the Gathering who encompasses that? When it's actually someone that in the canon of the game has already got experience being a best friend. At number 1, I pick Raphaelos, Lanoir Emissary. The one-time avatar of Yavimaya, who actually stepped down when he realised that he wasn't up for the job. That's how self-aware this guy is, has been shown to be a relaxed character who doesn't admonish a good tipple every now and again. Raphaelos is a wise and caring man who isn't afraid to occasionally cause a little bit of mischief and mayhem with the odd prank every now and again. Raphaelos' story ended when he was killed by Gallowbraid at Crovax's estate, but what story he did appear in, he emboldened it with mirth, laughter, and most importantly, friendship. And there you have it. that's who I picked. Ruffellos is, I believe, to be the greatest friend you can have in Magic the Gathering. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do let me know in the comments below. And if you... Fuck me, Philip DeFranco creeping in there. Do you think I'm right? Do you think I'm wrong? Do let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And as always, stay spicy.